What's up, everyone? This is Kronos, aka Adam, back with another AEW Weekend Review. As always, I review everything that happened in the week of AEW, BTE, Dark, and Dynamite. Obviously, the past couple of weeks, I've also been doing the YouTube release of the women's tag team tournament, the Deadly Draw. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Social media is down there. Check me out. Let me know how I'm doing. What's up, pup? Anyway. So we got a lot to get to today, so I'm just going to run through everything and just give my thoughts. So we start off with BTE this week. Episode was called Malfunction. Immediately, my thought was, okay, they're going to make some kind of reference to Retribution, because they love to do a little tongue-in-cheek there and making fun of certain things from WWE. So we have the Bucks looking at a map. Thursday was ratings day. Nick says it's not enough. They still need to win the key demo, which obviously they're winning the key demo of the 18 to 49, but they're joking. The key demo is the 50 plus, which obviously WWE for some reason just always wins. Matt says he's creatively bankrupt. He doesn't know what to do. So that's why Nick brought him to his second property to give him some inspiration. Nick brought back the local jobbers from previous episodes of BTE. We're actually decent wrestlers. I forget their names though. So one does the spot, flipping over the rope, landing on his feet. That was obviously tongue-in-cheek to what happened with Dexter Lumis. Apparently, that's where he injured his ankle, and you could tell that it was cut and put together from 2 weeks ago's NXT. So they make that joke. And then Nick asks if he's inspired, tells them to get Matt. So they're doing moves on him, trying to be, trying to beat him up, and then all of a sudden you hear them say, I saw them do this on NXT once. I forget what move it was, but it was funny. So they're doing, they toss him out, they're like, oh, that's like a Royal Rumble toss out. He's hanging on the ropes, Matt, like trying to skin the cat. He gets inspired, and then he does a 50 plus for 50 plus spot where he teaches you how to hang a picture using painter's tape, which actually I know the trick. But if you didn't, it's actually a clever way to hang pictures. So the Bucks and Cutler are getting ready to drive out to Jacksonville, or to travel to Jacksonville. I don't know if they were going to drive. Cutler thinks he witnessed a murder last week, going back to the best friends and Cole Cabana. Said they may not have been murdered, but definitely jerked him off and poured gold on him, because obviously some of the things he was hearing from the outside the room. The Bucks say he must have been hallucinating, and then they said, well, didn't you have a massive cleaning bill in your room? And they were like, well, the blood, because he gigs himself and this, that, and then they said the semen. They were like, well, we don't know about that. So we had the recap of Sammy throwing the chair at Matt Hardy from multiple angles. We see Matt getting medical attention. He's pissed off. He comes to see the Bucks, and then he starts like as if he's having like kind of issues. Sorry, my camera's a little. There we go. Kind of get that fixed. So he's going through all his personalities. If he has some kind of concussion, we obviously see this later on Dynamite. We then get Marco Stunt doing the piece of candy spot from Family Guy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. And it's actually just a way for Silver and Reynolds to lure him into their to the room that Dark Order always uses. So the best thing to wash down candy is Kool-Aid. Luchasaurus comes in, says, how many times have I told you not to take candy from strangers? Silver didn't realize he was doing a German accent the whole time, which I thought was kind of funny. We have another TH2 bit. They're back and people are going to realize how valuable they are. It's just pretty much it. Speaking Spanglish, Chisme is a pastime. Basically, it's just spreading rumors, playing the telephone game. We then get the Dark Order. Silver and Stu are arguing. Brody's happy for the big multi-person tag win that they had. Uno gets the honor, but he runs down Silver and Reynolds for their loss. Uno gets the honor of taking care of them. Uno shits on Silver, and then Brody hits him with the paper. Silver won't sell for him. We then get a Christopher Dan's infomercial from last week, obviously, because he's 50 years old. He would be able to figure out stuff for them. So he does that. He does a like invest in precious metals like copper, and basically it's just pennies, so it's a joke, obviously. So we get the Elite in the dressing room. They did the job. They weren't happy about it. Hangman's checking on Dax, says he hasn't found out yet what's going on. Kenny's not okay about this. He's embarrassed to lose to basically a comedy act. which he's calling the Dark Order. Matt says Kenny was the king of comedy back in the day. He wrestled a blow-up doll and a 9-year-old kid. They thought they were actually getting the cleaner, but they got the DDT Pro, who was just kind of, I guess, milling about. They break his balls about how they hated the cleaner and that guy was a dick, and even Hangman says he would not have wanted to tag with that guy. They turn on the TV, and then it's the Dark Order doing the Chili's Baby Back Ribs bit, singing the song like they were several weeks ago. And Brody comes in, you think he's gonna yell at them, and he's like, "Fucking barbecue sauce!" And so now they get a voiceover saying the Dark Order's partnering with Chili's, and they got the money. And then the Elite are all pissed off because that was the money that they were supposed to get, but it was all everyone blames Matt because Matt thought it was going to be too much for them, and he gigged himself, so he didn't have to. I'm fixing the camera again, because he didn't have to. He thought it was too much for them to do, so he gigged himself, so they didn't have to sign the contract in time. So everyone's pissed at him, and that is the end of BTE. I really like what they're doing with the Dark Order. I think it's great. I would like a little bit more continuity, making them a little more. Not comedy act, because obviously they want to be more vicious, but give like Silvers and Reynolds more personality than just being essential jobbers, because they're a good tag team obviously, so just give them a little more to do, because right now the only person that talks is Brody and sometimes Cole if he's on like commentary or something. Alright, and he's not even technically in the Dark Order, he's just hanging out. Alright, so then we also get the second installment of the women's tag team tourney recap. So we get Big Swole chooses Gray and apparently gets Little Swole. I don't know who that is. Apparently they've tagged together. Leva picks, gets Riche Chanel. So we get Big and Little Swole versus Leva and Riche Chanel. Avalon obviously out with Leva. Tony says this is Big Swole's first match since the suspension, which obviously doesn't make sense. I assume that's because they filmed it in a different time, but we obviously saw her fight Rebel, Reba, whatever you want to call her, and win to fight Britt at All Out. The Souls work together apparently in Shimmer, which is if you don't know, a promotion, female promotion. A little with a version of an Indian Deathlock on Chanel, doing the joint manipulation into an arm breaker. She's then getting crazy, and then Big Swole is beating up like Chanel and Leva, and then Big goes all the way to the other corner, picks her up, carries her back. Kind of like she's getting too aggressive and she's not paying attention. Eventually, Lil gets the Rings of Satin on Leva Bates. Chanel hits Lil with a comb while Avalon is distracting, but it's not really hitting her. It's just messing up with her hair. It's kind of stupid. I'm not a fan of Riche Chanel. I just find her very awkward. Fisherman by Leva for a 2 count. I'll take the Big Swole, a Blue Thunder Bomb on Chanel for a 2 count. They do a double team flatliner natural selection combo on Leva for the win. So they advance. And then we get Evilise versus so Big and Little Swole will face the Nightmare Sisters next week. And then we do find out later on that the finals will be on Dynamite, but I'll get to that when we get to Dynamite. So we get Dasha is about to do an interview, and then Medusa comes out, Alundra Blaze, and says that it's Dasha's turn to pick. And Dasha's all excited. She picks Rachel Ellering, obviously from NXT, Paula Ellering's daughter. So Ellering obviously had a very big injury, which is why she had not been on television for NXT for a long time. So they were excited to see each other wrestle, but it was a little too over the top. Like they were like, so excited to see each other, but it looked more disingenuous and corny than genuine excitement. I think they needed to tone it down a little bit. So we had Evilise Diamante versus Dasha and Ellering. Dasha walking ropes arm drag. She actually looked pretty good though. First match back for Ellering since a career-threatening injury. Evilise Diamante working as heels essentially. Evilise with the Lotus Lock on Dasha, pin attempt to break it up. Hot tag to Ellering. Evilise hits Diamante by accident. An STO twisting leg drop by Ellering for a 2 count. Diamante with the Cazadora stunner on Dasha. Scorpion kick by Evilise on Dasha. And then we get Evilise with a running code red on Dasha for the win. I think Tony called it a destroyer again, or maybe that was in another match, but yeah, he doesn't know the moves like that. It's kind of funny. So we get a post-match with Big and Little Swole talking about their win. We get a post-match with Dasha. First loss, but it's just a starting off point. Hopefully she, will get more opportunities, which would be good. Be interesting to see her, both as backstage interviewer and wrestler. Then we get a post-match with Ivelisse and Diamante. They respect keeps them together, even though obviously they discussed how they had their issues and battled each other. So Ivelisse and Diamante will fight Ty Conti and Anna Jay. I want obviously Anna Jay and Ty Conti to win, but I feel like Ivelisse and Diamante are going to be the bigger names, so they're probably going to give them the opportunity, which I think is annoying, but whatever. That's just my prediction. All right, so then we get to Dark. We get Lee Johnson versus Ray Phoenix. I really like Lee Johnson. I think even the little stuff he's doing with what's his name, MJF right now, I think is kind of funny. So Ray's frustrated that Lee is keeping pace with him. He goes for the handshake, but ends up just slapping him. Lee's sent to the barricades. A viciously loud kick to the chest by Ray Phoenix. He's great. Him and Pentagon both when they're doing their kicks. Spin kick while Lee was sitting on the apron. We get a Blue Thunder Bomb by Lee for a 2 count. Super kicks by Lee. Spin kick off the ropes by Phoenix. He then hits the Muscle Buster driver for the win. Obviously, Ray Phoenix was going to win, but Lee Johnson looked good in this. We get a recap of Scorpio Sky from what happened the other last week and the week before that. We get Shawn Spears versus Alex Chamberlain. With the distraction from Tunney, Shawn pulls Alex into the post, takes control. Spears attacking the elbow, goes for the C4, hits it for the win. Tony calls everything a destroyer. Yeah, he goes. He went for a Death Valley driver and he called it a destroyer. And it's just like, come on, Tony. Like, he calls the Code Red a destroyer. He calls the Death Valley driver a destroyer. It's ridiculous. So then Tully gives Spears the plate to load up the glove. He goes and he decks Alex Chamberlain and leaves. We get Mbadu. I don't know if it's Badu or Mbadu because it's M apostrophe. And Sean Dean versus the Gun Club. Billy and Badu have a hoss standoff, which is pretty cool. Badu is getting the better of Billy actually, but Billy's just putting these guys over at this point. Get the hot tag to Austin. We get a low bridge to Badu. Pump handle slam on Dean. Throwback to Road Dogg by Austin Gunn. And then we get the hip toss neck breaker by Austin on Dean for the win. I guess when some people, I heard somewhere someone was saying that it was just a hip toss, but it's not. If you actually look at it, it's a hip toss into a neck breaker. I really like it. I think Austin Gunn has some potential. Obviously, he's got a ton of personality. He's got the legacy. But right now, obviously, they're just keeping him and Billy together, for whatever reason, and that's fine. I mean, if they don't really have anything for him, there's no reason to thrust him into obscurity, because that's essentially what will happen to him. We get Kip Sabian versus Michael Stevens, who's, I don't know what his deal is. This guy kind of dresses, he almost looks like Perry Saturn, but is all about the hip gyrating, kind of just being creep status. So he's doing the Pee Wee Herman strut to start. Does the lasso kind of to Ford that he's pulling him toward her. Drop kick by Kip to the outside. Pop-up knee strike, rolling forearm by Kip. We get the PK. The ref says it's wide right. He's doing the gyrating hips. Stevens hits an X Factor and then a low flatliner on Kip for a 2 count. We get a springboard, twisting DDT, and then a Deathly Hollows by Kip for the win. Kip says he deserves more respect than being on Dark. So now that's a couple weeks in a row now. People have kind of said that I don't know if it's necessarily that he was saying Dark or his opponents, but obviously his opponents are coming on Dark. So now it's both him and Sky saying that they don't want to bury the show, but at the same time they're kind of burying it. So I think Dark is a good idea, because the only problem is that they only have usually one match that is essentially current roster versus current roster, whereas it's usually current roster versus jobbers essentially, or just guys from the local wrestling school or something like that. Some of them put up good fights like Lee Johnson and others, but for the most part they're not really doing much. Obviously all these matches are pretty predictable. So, they either have to give these guys some wins or start booking more of their main roster full-time talent on the show. But for now, it's fine. Private Party versus Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman, the new Hollywood Blondes. They're going with that gimmick. We get Private Party focusing on Pillman. Pillman and Griff Garrison get advantage on Cassidy. Hot tag to Quinn, who cleans house. Frog Splash, leg drop combo on Griff Garrison for the win. So they don't do gin and juice. They don't do a silly string. They just do a double splash from both corners, which is interesting. Not much else on that. Jurassic Express versus Pineapple Pete, Aaron Solo, and Corey Hollis. Solo is mocking stunt. catches a super kick and a head scissors from stunt. Luchin clearing house. Casador roll through double stomp by Solo on Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy takes out all three. Hot tag to stunt. Stunt handling all three, which I like Marco Stunt in the sense that everyone's like, oh, it's not believable. I think sometimes, yeah, it's a little unbelievable. There are sometimes where he just gets his motor going and he's just kicking the shit out of people, and it looks good, and I like him. He does he does the Razor Ramon kind of like finish him. Goes for a Razor's Edge on Pineapple Pete. He does the Razor's Edge on Pineapple Pete, which I thought was really cool. An assisted 450 by Stunt on Pineapple Pete for the win. So obviously they continue their trios wins. We have the Natural Nightmares versus TH2. In a tag match. Obviously this was set up from last week. Jack Evans beating what's his name? QT Marshall with the unfortunate distraction by Allie. So this is obviously a continuation of that. Angelico's no longer wearing the full bodysuit. He's just wearing the pants and the armbands, which I actually think looks a little better because the full bodysuit I thought it was just problematic just from a heat standpoint. It just seemed like it was so hot. Brandy's out with her action figures. Evans is showboating and then gets punched by Dustin. The drop down punch, standing moonsault by QT for a 2 count, which was impressive, even though it was a little kind of off to the side, but still, for a guy, it doesn't look like he has that kind of athletic prowess to be able to do those moves. It's impressive. Evans takes advantage with Angelico's help. Hot tag to Dustin, snaps power slams all around. He does like a whisper in the wind on both of them, a little too long for the setup. We get the pop-up for him by QT and then the Reckoning by Dustin for the win. I was a little unhappy about this. I would have liked, because it almost seems 50-50 booking, like Evans got the wins on QT Marshall. Now, they could be that, he can't win on his own, but he can only win with the help of Dustin, and that could, cause more of a friction between the Natural Nightmares, because obviously this thing with Allie is going to come to a head eventually, and they're all going to split up. So we get Penelope Ford versus Rachel Ellering. So Ellering gets a second match from the tag team tournament to now. Kip using a leaf blower on the outside for a distraction, which I was like, I don't even know where he got the leaf blower from. Fisherman suplex reversed by Ellering. We get a pop-up stunner countered, and then a pop-up spine buster by Ellering for a 2 count. Ford hits the handspring stunner, and then the Fisherman suplex for the win. So keeping her momentum going. We get SCU versus Butcher and the Blade. So this was the first, this is the match that I was talking about before, where we're having, 2 main roster talent going after each other. So we get Kaz and Blade with the headlocks for position. Butcher is in manhandling Christopher Daniels. There's a nice double team on Blade by SCU for a 2 count. Butcher hits Blade by accident. They recover to get the double team on CD. Side slam leg drop combo on CD for a 2 count. We get a springboard leg drop by Kaz. Avoids the Butcher to break the count. Sit out powerbomb combo on Blade for a 2 count. We get a standing STO, and then they go for the best moonsault ever, but is caught into a fun splash. And then Butcher and the Blade end up hitting their finisher, which is like the suplex backbreaker on Christopher Daniels for the win. I forget exactly what it's called, like murder or something, I don't know. So this is a little interesting because we've seen Kaz out the last couple of weeks monitoring the tag team situation. Obviously, him and Christopher Daniels are now more of the established tag team of SCU, even though him and Scorpio Sky were the first inaugural tag team champions. But also, they just took this loss on Dark. The Butcher and the Blade obviously have had a lot of issues, mainly with 50-50 booking. So, are we, where's this play in? Especially because we saw Kaz looking at the tag teams on Dynamite, which I'll get to. So it's like, well, he just lost on Dark, and Dark obviously means something because we do get it in the lower third of the results. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with this. They have such good tag teams. The tag team division is stacked, so I don't mind it. I just want to see where they go with it, and I hope they have something for it. Now we're on to AEW Dynamite. Let me see where we're at right now. Oh, not bad. I'm flying through this. So we get the first off right away. Young Bucks versus Dark Order. Dark Order attacks the Bucks on the ramp before they even get to the ring. Matt with a huge senton from the stage and lands on his feet. That was actually really cool. Matt gets the hot tag eventually from Nick. Bucks take advantage. Stu with some really impressive moves. I really like his moveset. We get a toss German on Matt. Matt gets singled out. They focus on his back, as always. That's obviously the point that they keep selling that. Matt's surrounded on the outside by the Silver Reynolds and 5. He slips under the ring but to the other corner, but he can't make the tag. Desperation Spear by Matt. Toss counter Poison Rana on by Matt on Stu. And we get the hot tag to Nick. Stu gets super kicked out of midair on the outside. They hit Risky Business on Uno for a 2 count. We get a swanton on Uno while he was hanging on the ropes by Nick. He gets a foot on the rope to break the count. Stu walking on the shoulders of Nick and Uno, and then jumps off, hits a Rana on Matt. Really impressive. They do their yin and yang, which is I think the 450 cannonball spot by Dark Order for a 2 count. 540 kick brainbuster combo on Nick for a 2 count. We then get Matt tossed into the tunnel, and the rest of Dark Order out there to block him from getting back in the ring. Nick eventually counters the fatality for a roll-up win on Uno, and they get out. See, this was a fantastic match. The only thing I just wasn't 100% sure on is the win by the Bucks. I think the Bucks, obviously because it was Tag Team Appreciation Night, and obviously because they had their, they had the what do you call it? They were out there for the spot with FTR and the Rock and Roll Express and Arn and Tully. So I guess, you had to give them the win. But Dark Order, I think, would have been better for the win there. Even if they had, kind of heelish move or whatever and they didn't win clean, I think Young Bucks would have been fine. Obviously, since wins and losses matter, you got to give the Young Bucks a win. But I really like the Dark Order. I think Uno has gotten a lot better, especially because he's definitely, you can see he's lost weight, so I think that's made him even better and more agile in the ring. Because even as this, when he was a little heavier, he was still very agile, but he looks even better now. And I get to see, when you watch him on BTE and you see more of his personality, because obviously when they first came out, we were, everyone was just like, who the hell are these guys? They're kind of annoying. It seems kind of stupid, but. You get to see more personality now from him, and he's obviously not the leader, but he's kind of basically second in command, even though Brody really loves Stu, but Stu just doesn't talk really. So, I get to use that I see on BTE and kind of put that onto him while I'm watching him in the ring, and I get to see a little more and understand it and enjoy his moveset more. So then we get MJF. He says the gum guy is good. Nina, speak when you're spoken to. And then Lee Johnson following him, kind of gets in his way, kind of almost as like a security precaution, and then he pushes him out of the way. So apparently this was a shout out to, and I did not know this reference, when Samoa Joe made his debut in NXT, he was doing kind of a similar spot, and MJF, who was an extra at the time, got pushed out of the way by Samoa Joe, so I guess that was just paying homage to that. So they get a bunch of the tag teams throughout the night talking about their favorite tag teams because, as I said, it's Tag Team Appreciation Night. We start off with the champs, Kenny and Hangman. Kenny says the Bucks. Paige was actually going to say them. Kenny's like, well, we're kind of just, 2 individual guys were put together, but he just gushes over the Bucks, and Paige is obviously kind of annoyed. We get MJF out to the ring. There's a podium in the ring. Yells at Nina to smile more, but he says, let's look at the polling, and according to the polls, MJF is up 500%, where Moxley is down minus 1,000% in the polls, which is obviously clear, good math. Promise he'll always be here for the AEW faithful. Says Moxley's scared of someone more talented and someone who won't look up at the lights for him. MJF starts to do like the rest of the promo, kind of lying in the ground, but it seemed like the camera angle was off for a little, so that it was kind of looking down at him, but then they had one from the side. It was actually a good promo though. He should just give it up to MJF, that he's a dog and kind of chasing the car, but he's already gotten the car, but he's not doing anything with it. So then Mox's music hits. MJF says he always comes from the stand, so he sends everyone out there to block the exits. And then Mox just basically comes out from the back, from the tunnel, attacks him from behind, hits a crazy paradigm shift, and then just leaves. MJF is selling it like really, really well. Mox grabs a mic backstage. Apparently you see Tony Khan back there in gorilla position with the headset on. Says they're not even close to even, but it'll teach him a painful lesson in humility. We then get a recap of Hardy and Sammy again from last week. Hardy with a backstage interview says he's out 10 days, but that will be the side of the next Dynamite. So we, as if you didn't know, Dynamite will not be this Wednesday. It will be actually be on Saturday night because of the NBA. So it'll be 6 p.m., which is actually the same day as TakeOver. So it's going to be pretty wild. That I have a lot of things to record and watch and react to. So I'm going to be doing. So my AEW review will come probably Saturday morning, and then I'll probably also try to get my my NXT Takeover review also done, because I also have to do my NXT predictions as well, and then my WWE weekend review also, as well as my SummerSlam preview predictions, which is going to be on that Sunday. It's going to be pretty ridiculous for me, but I'm going to try and get it all done. So we get, so it'll be the day of the next Dynamite. Says he's waiting around. He's going to wait around there for Sammy. Starts to attack someone who's wearing a backwards hat and a leather jacket, kind of like Sammy. Turns out it was just Mike Posey, one of the refs. So they're kind of selling the kind of like concussion or not understanding what's going on angle, kind of where they started it on BTE. We then get the TNT title match, Cody versus Sky. So Cody had said, Sky had said that he's going to, the doors aren't open for him, so he's going to have to kick them down. So they do this spot where he comes in the tunnel and kicks the door in. It's a little corny, but, whatever. They like to do a little showmanship. So we get the unveiling of the new belt, which definitely looks better. There's gold, more plating, looks a little nicer. The Nightmare Family's out with him in total. No SCU out with Sky, though. Interesting. Mike Chioda is apparently going to be the ref, former WWE, a longtime ref, who was let go, unfortunately, during the April layoffs. He was recently on Talk is Jericho, talking about his time there. So Sky fakes holding the ropes for Cody when he goes to the outside. Cody hip tosses Sky out of the ring, does the same thing to Sky. Sky ain't having it, decides to go in the ring from another side. So they fight to the outside. Cody with a bow and arrow out of picture-in-picture. There was a spot where Cody hurt his ribs, and he's selling that pretty much the rest of the match. Sky pulls Cody into the post, rib first. We get a springboard cutter to the ramp on the outside by Sky. Rolls back in, both for a 2 count. Sky hurts his lower back on that cutter, so he's selling that injury for the rest of the match. We get a superplex by Cody, but Sky holds on and pulls him in for a roll-up for a 2 count. We get a TKO attempt, countered into a crossroads, but Sky kicks out of the crossroads. We get a tombstone attempt by Cody, countered by Sky, and then does a jumping flatliner for a 2 count. We get another springboard cutter, but it misses. Cody with the second crossroads for the 2 count. Sky, for the win. I'm sorry, for the 2 count. I don't know why I said 2 count, because I'm like, he only hit 2. So he gets the win there. Sky looks crushed. Now, my thing was, I get it, but I felt like there was something off in this match. It kind of just ended kind of like a wet fart. It was like going. I was expecting this to be just an absolute classic. I really like Sky. I like Cody. I think, I could have easily seen Sky taking the title off him. I do think that there is an issue where, because they're doing it week to week, there's not any build-up, so if there was a win, it would just be a complete shock. Obviously, if it's somebody really, really good or so high up in the rankings, it's not as shocking for a loss, but like for a loss of the title based on the way they've been building Cody up with this title. But yeah, it just felt like things were not in sync with this match, and it kind of just abruptly ended. Like, I was just like, oh, that's it, okay. So I don't know what this means for Sky. I really hope that this isn't kind of just like, pushes him right back to Dark, where he's not going to be involved in anything. Brody is then on the Tron, holding the old title, challenges him to a match on the 22nd, which is the next Dynamite, the Saturday Dynamite. So he'll take Cody's title, but he'll give him the old one back. So kind of, also going to the Scorpio Sky thing, felt like this was just kind of like a kind of a springboard into that next storyline. which kind of sucks for him. So we get Private Party talking about their favorite tag team. They say the Hardys, obviously. We get the AEW tag team title match for Kenny and Hangman versus Jurassic Express. As Lucha's getting into the ring, he says, "Hey mom, it only took 65 million years to get a title shot. Hopefully, it won't take another 65 million." And this is where we see Kaz looking on, but there's no real discussion. It's just like we just see Kaz. He says that he's a Killer Kowalski guy on his shirt, which I thought was cool. Kenny's about to get aggressive, but Marco gets on the apron, then Kenny's being a dick to him, kind of continuing that storyline, calls him like a pussy or a bitch or something, like to the camera. Jungle Boy looking great against Kenny. Assisted flatliner on Kenny for a 2 count. Hangman showing off the speed and power on Jungle Boy. They ping pong Jungle Boy with chops. Jungle Boy worked over during picture-in-picture. Lucha with the hot tag, choke slam, standing moonsault on Hangman for a 2 count. We get a V trigger to Luchasaurus back, then hits 2 Snapdragons, and then he goes Snapdragon on Jungle Boy. That's countered. Kenny with the Snapdragon to Marco on the outside. Jungle Boy attempts a suicide dive, but Kenny catches him into another Snapdragon on the outside. Jungle Boy goes for a Rana attempt, and on Hangman, he's caught and then tossed into the German suplex. We get a double suplex by Luchasaurus on both of them. Marco is tossed by Luchasaurus onto Kenny on the outside. Lucha with the extinction level event on Hangman, but only gets a 2 count. Hangman powerbomb tosses Jungle Boy out of the ring. Kenny with the Tope con Hero. We then get the last call on Jungle Boy for the win. This match was alright. It was pretty good. But yeah, I just didn't see Jurassic Express losing, so it just seems like Jurassic Express is going to be just a victim of 50-50 booking until they figure out what to do with them. We get Santana and Ortiz backstage destroying Best Friend's gear that they took from the van before they messed it up. They poured like bleach on it. I would hope that Best Friends next time they fight actually wears the bleached gear, so that would be interesting. Butcher and the Blade say their favorite team was the Road Warriors. They're talking actually in their shoot voices, being just kind of legit, normal, We then get Tully, Arn, FTR, the Bucks, and the Rock and Roll Express all in the ring. See how this looks here. Okay, it doesn't look as dark. It just looks dark. I really gotta get lighting. Okay, so Matt says the Express were the originals. Dax says, everyone probably thinks I'm marks for them. And he's like, of course I am. And he just sounds so happy talking about tag team wrestling and how he's just excited to be there and everything. Let's see, 1 second. What is this? Who is this? Nope. Okay, so Dax says, so he's really happy. Ricky puts over FTR, but the Bucks are the best. Arn's putting over what the Bucks have done for tag team wrestling and everything for AEW. Express are tag team of the century, but Arn says right now FTR, and he's gonna get some heat for it, but FTR are the best in the world. Tully grabs the mic from Ricky. Tully says you can't talk unless you have the belt to back it up to both teams. Tully brings up the Spears match where Arn got involved. Spears starts to come out. Ricky pushes Tully. Apparently Dax tweaks his knee. And then everyone's on the outside except the Rock and Roll Express. And then Cash is tending to Dax in the ring. They get up. Obviously Dax was faking the injury. They attack the Express. They hit the Brainbuster suplex on Ricky Morton, who actually sells it like awesome. Hangman and Kenny come out. Hangman has a glass in his hand and just looks kind of pissed off at like why they would do that. So assuming this is the full FTR heel turn now. So we got a Mike Chioda backstage interview. Jericho interrupts, says, remember when I saved your job 18 years ago, and wants him for the match with Jericho. Chioda says he will call it down the middle, and he's like, yep, down the middle, wink wink. Sammy out with cards during picture-in-picture, talking about Matt Hardy. We get Sheeta versus Heather Moore. I don't know who Heather Moore is, making her debut. We get suplexed in the corner by Sheeta. Falcon Arrow countered into a roll-up. Sheeta with the muffler, stretch muffler for the tap out, so she's doing the stretch muffler now too. Tony with the post-match interview says she's still waiting for someone to challenge her to bring it on. But, I mean, this goes to what I said last week about AEW's women's division. Like, this is the only match that they got, right? And I remember, yeah, it's the only match. We got almost more screen time from Nina with MJF than we did for Shida. And she put out the open challenge how long ago, and no one's answered it. Like, even if it was just jobbers, I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get it. Backstage with Jake and Archer. Archer just beating up everyone in the locker room. Eventually, says, "Oh, did you tell him, Jake?" And Jake's like, "No." And then Archer like rips his shirt open to reveal that "Everybody Dies" is written on his back. It's really weird. I don't know. Is this like elder abuse now? Like, he doesn't look happy about that. I don't know. Maybe Jake is like, maybe I shouldn't have brought this guy in. Reference to women's tag tourney. We get next week. We get at the special time FTR versus Private Party, the Elite versus the Dark Order. So it's a 3-on-3. Finals of the women's tourney. Darby Allin will be in action. We get the Lucha Brothers and Butcher and the Blade versus Jurassic Express and Natural Nightmares, and then we'll also get our TNT title match, Cody versus Brody. So it's going to be a stacked show. We get Jericho Cassidy video package, and then we get our main event, which is Chris Jericho versus Orange Cassidy. So the best friends in Inner Circle, we find out, are banned from ringside. Cassidy comes out hot with the Pescado to the outside. Jericho sent in the stage, then the barricade. Hands in pockets, trust fall from Cassidy from the top to the outside. We get a diving DDT from the top rope by Cassidy for a 2 count. Superman punch countered with a boot to the face. Jericho drops Cassidy across the barricade, stalling suplex twice during picture-in-picture. Hits a lion salt for a 2 count. Cassidy with fake shots. Cassidy's doing like the fake punches. The super kick actually looked brutal though when you connect on that one. We had a crossbody from the top by Cassidy for a 2 count. Cassidy with the dragon screw leg whip twice, but it was just weird because like instead of like floating over as you would for a dragon screw, Jericho would just like fall on his back. So it was like almost like a leg screw DDT, but it was just the way Jericho was taking it was very weird. He gets the walls of Jericho on Cassidy. Cassidy almost taps, but he turns into a small package for a 2 count. Cassidy hits an ankle lock. Jericho obviously gets out of that. Cassidy hits a Stun Dog Millionaire. Jericho hits a Code Breaker for a 2 count. Jericho grabs the bat, tells Keeler to turn around, but Keeler then grabs the bat to get out of his hands. Cassidy hits a Michinoku driver for a 2 count. Hits a Superman punch. Santana Ortiz and the Best Friends. Santana Ortiz is about to come out. Best Friends jump out on stage. They're fighting. The ref is distracted. Hager with the powers, kind of like the power slam, spine buster, whatever he does, by Cassidy. But Cassidy kicks out, 2 count. Cassidy then hits this pinning combination, which Taz called a mousetrap, but it looked super sloppy and it ended abruptly. It looked like they didn't have enough time for this. Cassidy gets the big win, but it was just because it just felt rushed. It didn't, obviously the crowd would have been super hot for this, but just because of the fact there is no crowd and there was no like kind of momentum building there, it just kind of happened and it just didn't look really good. Certainly not as good as their first match. So there you have it. That is AEW Dynamite and all of AEW programming for the week. Let's see where I'm at here. Okay. As always, I give my match of the week, so I'm going to give that to the Young Bucks in Dark Order. This is an alright week of programming overall, nothing too great. The ratings showed that this did not, last week hit like 900,000, which was like crazy. This week was like, they still won the demo and they still won the overall ratings, but it definitely took a drop by like, I don't know, about 100,000+. So yeah, I thought the Young Bucks Dark Order, like I said, was a really great match. Obviously, Young Bucks and Dark Order are both just great teams. Just the ending, I think, could have went either way. I understand it, but obviously, I just don't want the Dark Order to start losing too much and then fall out of favor in the tag team division. And yeah, so this is going to be a very interesting week. Obviously, NXT will go unopposed. Young Bucks. Dynamite will be on the same day as TakeOver, so there's a lot going on. DC Fandom is going to be coming up. If you know what that is, it's kind of like their own online Comic-Con where they're going to be doing different panels. My hope is that I'm going to be able to watch them and record some stuff and then get some do some like short form videos out of like my review of certain things, trailers dropping or other news for some of the DC movies. That would be pretty cool if I could do that. I don't know if I'm going to because it's just going to be so much going on next weekend. So anyway, yeah, there you have it. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Social media's down there. Next, I'll be doing my WWE review. I'm going to try and get that out today as well. So as always, be safe, love each other, and bye now. What's up, everyone? This is Kronos, aka Adam. No stupid post-credit scene. I just wanted to say, because I forgot to mention it actually on the podcast itself, that this was the 50th episode of my show or podcast or whatever the hell you want to call it. Obviously, just kind of started this during quarantine just for fun. Still doing it for fun, still learning, trying to get a little better at it, trying to figure out more things that I could be doing with the channel. Appreciate the few of you that have actually watched it, the even fewer of you who have actually commented on it. But obviously, the more I do, the more I enjoy it. Obviously, couldn't do it without my partner in crime. There she is. Yep. So anyway, as I completely mess everything up here, and my mic is in the way, in the shot. Anyway, so yeah, number 50, hopefully for another 50, we'll see what ends up happening, or, and maybe we'll get some more viewers, more subscribers, I'll be able to do more stuff, and I'll be able to quit my day job. Definitely not. Definitely won't. So anyway, bye now.